Well, Amari's Adventures is an interactive picture book about a young girl who embarks on an expedition in South Africa and it discovers beautiful plants, animals and people. She invites children to count along with her while she reads the book. All 11 recognized South African languages as well as Nama are available in Amari's Adventures. Now, broadcaster and author Nzinga Qunta joins us now for more on this. Nzinga, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. Now, as I mentioned, Amari's Adventures is a picture book. It is interactive in nature. Just talk to us about what inspired you to write this picture book or to come up with the picture book in the first place.
A very good morning to you, Ndokozo, and to your viewers. Thanks so much for having me on Newzroom Afrika this morning. So we have a reading culture in our family. Since my sister and I were small, my parents have encouraged us to read. My sister was reading Chinua Achebe at the age of 10. I wasn't that advanced, but we've always had a reading culture. So when I had a child, I continued that culture. I would take her to bookstores. We buy books from everywhere, from traditional bookstores, from secondhand bookstores, online, from shops like Ethnic Kids. And what I noticed at the time was that there were not enough books that reflected what my daughter looked like that I wanted her to read. So I wanted my daughter to be able to pick up a book where she could be an astronaut or a princess, and I tried to make sure that I buy books that affirm her, because often the outside world can say to you that if you look a certain way, you must be in this box. And I sometimes struggle to find that. I think it's much better now. So that's the first thing. I wanted to find her books that would affirm her and that would be good for her. The second thing is we love the outdoors. So since she's been about 1, I've taken her hiking almost every Sunday, and we love discovering the outside world. So these two things made me think, if I can't find exactly what I want and I want to give my daughter something, I'm going to write a book that does that.
Yeah. So, from the snippet that I mentioned to our viewers, we talk about how Amari encounters, on her South African expedition, she encounters animals and plant life and certain individuals. I mean, just talk to us about what experience you're hoping our young ones who engage with Amari on this adventure are actually going to glean from it. Yeah.
Sure. So I think numeracy and literacy is very important, and you need to teach kids without sitting them down on a desk and saying, this is what you do. So what I've done is I have included our national flower, our protea, our national butterflies, our national birds, and the like across the book so that children are interacting with words that are rhyming, that are fun, and it's encouraging numeracy and literacy without being too strict about it. So kids are interacting with a book, and I think it's very important that it's in their mother tongue. Because there's a study by the Rooter Foundation, one of the many studies, that shows that if you are literate and numerate in your home language, your chances of economic success increase as you get older. And that's a challenge that we have in South Africa. So I wanted to play my part in doing that. And even the way that we're rolling out the project is ensuring that, one, it's on sale privately. Well, not privately, but it's on sale on a platform called Ethnic Kids, which is an online bookstore. But then we're also taking it to all 9 provinces and doing readings and donating books so that children can interact with books and literature in an easy way in their home languages.
Yeah. I mean, you've touched on 2 very important points, Nzinga. One, of course, being the representation that you mentioned and how important it was for you as a mother to ensure that Amari is being exposed to icons and pictures and experiences that she can relate to. You've also mentioned the issue of literacy and exposing our kids to that, even at, between the ages of 0 and 6, if I'm not mistaken, which is the target audience. I mean, just talk to us about why it was so important for you to infuse that the idea of representation, the idea of having the book be written or be available in all 11 official languages in South Africa, and of course as well the Nama language now also available, a translation available for the book. Talk to us about the importance of that and the target audience, that group, which falls under that early childhood development group.
Yeah, so I think also it's about upbringing and the things that I saw and I was exposed to when I was younger. Both my parents had very Pan-African, Black consciousness leanings, and that's how we were raised. And those are the kind of things we were exposed to. So we never had a TV when I was growing up, and we only had books. And my parents made sure that in our home we had dolls that looked like us and books that represented us and that affirmed us. And I think as I've grown older, I've seen the importance of that, because it might seem like a small thing, but the things that you're taught before the age of 7 really stick with you. And even if perhaps you wander off, the lessons still resonate. So for me, that was the issue of representation. I don't ever want my child to think that she's not beautiful because the books that she's seeing in the bookshops only have beautiful girls who look like this. I think in South Africa we're doing so well right now. We've got so many incredible authors bringing out so many different books that affirm kids, and I want to be part of that. The second thing is language. When we write books, often we think in our kind of zone. So if I speak English, if I speak Afrikaans, if I speak Xhosa, then I think that's it. But without getting too deep about it, I think if you're living in South Africa today, you must think about what it is that you're doing to contribute towards our growth in the future. And for me, literacy and numeracy is very important. If I can share that in home language, I will be playing a very small part, but a part that may affect a child's future trajectory, or something that contributes to them being interested in something, or it's just like a good time also, if you small.
Of course, but also, Amari's Adventures is not exclusively for children that look like Amari. I think that's also something that we should touch on, because I think, representation is important, but I think it plays a role as well in terms of just exposure and what the different races, different ethnic backgrounds in our country, the diversity that we have in our country, to ensure that that is also shared amongst us. As you mentioned, you wanted to make a contribution, one towards South Africa's future. And we know that we have this massive national project of trying to get everybody on board with the social compact around social cohesion. Books like Amari's Adventures play a role at that young and critical age, exposing children of all kinds of backgrounds to, everything that South Africa has to offer.
Absolutely, Ntokozo. It's not about if you look like this book is for you, and if you don't look like this book is for you. One of the first photos that I got this week was of a little blonde boy holding up Amari's Adventure with this massive smile on his face. And, it made me so happy, because that's what books are. Books are a sharing of knowledge, a sharing of ideas, and it's a very proudly South African book and project. I got assistance from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture to take the book to different provinces and to donate copies. And I think it's a project of social cohesion, because if you're not a nation, if you're not together, you can't move forward together, because one person is saying, no, we must do this, one person is saying, we must do this. So I'm not saying, oh no, this book is going to, bring us together. And I think it's a part of the thing that we need to do as South Africans and people living in South Africa, to see each other, to understand each other, to interact with each other in a really beautiful way. I'm just going to show you one of the pages of the book in Ntokozo so it's a rhyming book, excuse me. And so the book asks kids to count, and we showcase the different people who are living in South Africa, some of the clothes that they wear. And so it's really like a little journey for small and maybe big people to learn together, to learn how to count together, to interact together. And hopefully little ones and big ones will enjoy it, and what I'm hoping to do works out in some way.
Beautiful. So something that we touched on as well, Nzinga, is the fact that the book is translated in all 11 official languages, but also in the Nama language, which we know is the indigenous language is spoken in Namibia and parts of South Africa, but it is indigenous to the Gwegwe people. Just talk to us a little bit more about that, why it was important for you to have that language in addition to the South African official languages, because we know that the people are obviously working towards saving that indigenous language, the indigenous knowledge systems that they already have. There's a lot of effort towards preserving that, and this book is certainly making its own contribution as well.
Yes, I think it's important that as many voices as possible are acknowledged. And we know that just because something is not official does not make it unimportant. And I was trying to think what I could do to also add to that. How do we make sure that a child who speaks Nama sees a book with their language and can be read to in their language? It's very important to be seen, and that's why this is my first book, and even the second book that we're planning has to be inclusive and has to reach as many people as possible. Because, like I was saying, just because the language is not official does not mean it's there. We know that there's issues of recognition and people want you to be seen and heard, and I want to make sure as much comes out as possible. And it was just important because it's part of the South African story, and this is a very South African book. It's about preserving things. It's about talking about our arts and culture. It's about talking about numbers and using what we have to share with kids. So that language was very important for me to include.
Well, where can any parent, any guardian, any aunt, uncle, cousin interested in buying this book, where can they purchase it?
We are selling it exclusively through Ethnic Kids until June, and then it's going to be in retail stores. So for now, if you'd like to get it, if you'd like to be one of the first people to get it, and please send me photos. You can blur your kids' faces out or anything, but I'd really like to see kids interacting with the book. ethnickids.africa is the website where you can buy Amari's Adventures.
Nzinga, thank you so much, and thank you so much for sharing with us the picture book Amari's Adventures. That was broadcaster and author Nzinga Qunta joining us there to talk about that book, Amari's Adventures.